just going to take a couple of seconds here to say a few things. So the way this is going to work is that our presenter is going to talk for about 15 minutes, and the last 5 minutes will be for question and answer. So please just reserve your questions, because then, I'll just help her out a little bit. And then if you could just silence your cell phone, so that way, there won't be any disturbances. I'm going to present Anna Martin, and she's going to talk about, her topic is my cat too fat? A look at issues relating to obesity and pheno. Great job.
Thank you all for coming this afternoon. All right. I know we all like to give treats to our pets, right? Sometimes we may even give them a table scrap or two. But what we think of is just a bit of cheese or even a cup of milk can mean something completely different to our pets. According to Hill's Pet Nutrition, for a cat, an ounce of cheese is equivalent to 3.5 hamburgers. And a cup of milk, well, that is equivalent to 4.5 hamburgers. The Association for Pet Obesity Prevention estimates that 54% of cats in the United States are overweight or obese. This cat came into my clinic and he's 37 pounds. And the owners, they thought he was just maybe a little overweight. We didn't think he was he didn't necessarily need to lose weight.
What is 37 pounds in human terms?
Oh, like, at least, because it depends on the cat, but 400 something on pounds at least. So that is why today I'd like to talk to you all about obesity and felines. A little about me. I'm a registered veterinary technician in the state of California. I've worked in the veterinary field for 3 years, and I too have an overweight cat. Today I'm going to tell you, how do you even tell if a cat's overweight? What's some possible causes of obesity? And what's some more problems that overweight cats can face? And what can you do if your pet's overweight? First, you may ask yourself, how can I tell if a cat's overweight? Well, instead of using a BMI like we use in people, we use something called the body condition score. And there's 2 different scales. There's 1 to 5, 1 being too thin and 5 being obese. And there's a 1 to 9, or 1's being too thin and 9's being obese. Today, I'm going to use the 1 to 5 scale. So, in order to know what an overweight cat looks like, you're going to have to know, what does an ideal cat look like? The body condition score of an ideal cat is 3 to 5. You'll notice that they're well proportioned, they have a visible waist, and the ribs are felt with minimal fat covering, which means that you can rub your fingers across their ribs and you can feel ribs with just a little minimal pressure. You can notice they have actually a tucked abdomen versus some you'll see coming up. With an overweight cat, their body condition score is a 4 out of 5. The ribs are not easily felt and they have moderate fat covering. Their waist is not easily seen. And you'll notice they have a rounding to their abdomen with a discernible fat pad. All right, an obese cat. Now, this cat has a body condition score of 5 out of 5. The ribs are not felt and are under heavy fat. That means you can stick your fingers and really press it in there. You're not going to do it. They have fat deposits on their face, their back, and their limbs. And they don't really have a waist. It's round. Now that you know how to determine if a cat is obese or not, let's look at some causes of obesity. Well, what can cause obesity in felines? Well, we've got some owners feeding some people food sometimes, like cheese, ice cream, perhaps some cooked meat. You can be feeding too much. For example, giving your cat a free feeding versus something that might work better, like time feeding with measured amounts. You can have a multi-cat household. Now, unless cats are fed in separate places, you can have one cat that can push the other cats out of the way and eat their food as well. They can get not enough exercise. Now we think of cats as being lazy, but in essence, they actually are kind of active animals. They could also be on medications. Now there's medications like prednisolone, which is a steroid, which can increase the pet's desire for food, as well as increasing their water intake. Now with that, it's really important to monitor how much you're actually feeding them, because they want it, and you're kind of just going to give it to them if you're not careful. Now that we have a better understanding of what an overweight cats look like and how they came to be that way, let's focus on the problems that overweight cats face. They can have anesthesia and surgical complications. According to Dr. Holly Nash, a veterinarian from PetEducation.com, many of the anesthetics that are used today are taken up by fat, so obese cats have a longer recovery time. Also, the extra fat that's in and on their tissues can make surgeries take longer because they make things harder to find or harder to get to. They also, if you see, an inability to groom themselves. Really important in longer-haired cats. They also have some predisposition to diseases. In order to introduce you all to this section, I'd like you to meet Bob. Bob was a cat I met working at my first veterinary clinic about 3 years ago. Back then, Bob was a female domestic shorthair. She was 8 years old, 17 pounds. Now, she also had a problem, not just her weight. She had a urinary tract infection and was placed on antibiotics. Now, she wasn't responding well to the antibiotics, but the owners didn't really know that because she wasn't eating, but the owners didn't know that because they had a multi-cat household where they were feeding, and she was vomiting. But the owners didn't know that either because she was hiding under the bed and vomiting. All right, the owners began to notice that she lost weight and took her to the veterinarian. There, the veterinarian noticed that she had yellow ears and yellow scleras. That's the white part of your eye. She decided to run some tests and then came back with her diagnosis. Bob had something called feline idiopathic hepatic lipidosis. Now you're thinking, what's feline idiopathic hepatic lipidosis? Well, according to Dr. Alice Summers, in her book Common Diseases of Companion Animals, hepatic lipidosis is the most common liver disease found in cats. It affects adult, obese cats of any age. We don't know what causes it, but it's thought to be brought upon by stress. It often starts when obese cats stop eating over a period of days to a week. The lack of eating causes a decrease in liver function, which causes fat to accumulate within the cells of the liver. They also start vomiting. For the treatment that the veterinarian might prescribe, that is getting the appropriate nutrition into them so that it can reverse the negative energy balance that leads to the fat buildup in the liver. They sometimes can require hospitalization and feeding tube placement. That can mean big bucks for you in the economy that we face right now. Back to Bob. She was provided with fluids to alleviate her dehydration from her vomiting, medications to assist with appetite stimulation, and anti-nausea medication. Bob has recovered, is happy, and has maintained a healthier weight since her illness. Other conditions that can be predisposed by obesity. Diabetes mellitus, which is most commonly just called diabetes. In Dr. Summers' book also contained information on diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus happens when beta cells in the pancreas stop producing insulin. It also occurs when they become insulin resistant. You will often see cats drinking and urinating more, as well as having some weight loss.